Welcome to our holistic health and wellness week-long series, where each day we take a look at a fascinating new piece of holistic healing technology. At the heart of this initiative is a shared commitment among all of the companies featured that they hold firmly to their values of being in service to others. And I align with this value as well by sharing this information with you. Our goal is to provide you with valuable insights into alternative forms of healing that may complement your wellness journey. Each video this week will feature a different device, and all of the related information will be listed in the show notes for your reference. We genuinely hope that you find this information helpful and informative, and we encourage you to leave a comment if any of these technologies resonate with you. We love hearing your feedback. Lastly, please remember that while these devices can offer supportive benefits, they are not a substitute for professional medical advice. So please use your own discernment to decide what resonates best with you. And if you find value in this content, please like this video and share it with anyone who you feel may benefit from learning more about these healing and wellness technologies that we discuss. We hope you enjoy this journey towards healing and holistic wellness. And as always, thank you for watching. Today, our guest is Gail Lynn. Gail is an author, filmmaker, and inventor. Specifically today, we are talking with her about her invention of the Harmonic Egg, which is a unique form of energy therapy. This is a holistic energy technology that uses light, color, and sound frequencies, as well as sacred geometry, to create an environment that allows the body to heal itself and bring itself back to a mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual well-being. So welcome, Gail. We're excited to talk with you today.
Thanks for having me. I was excited to talk to you two ladies. I think we'd be besties if I lived in California.
I think so too. I love your background. I love the conversations we've already been having. And I think we do have a lot in common. So I can't wait to get into that. And today, I know one of the things that we like to discuss here is the merging of science and spirituality. And I think your invention of the harmonic egg perfectly embodies that. I think it's more than just technology. And I know we're going to get into all of that. But I remember when I first heard of this technology a few years ago, and I was just fascinated by it. And I right away started looking into it. And I just think it's amazing. I really do think that this is the direction that we're going with health and wellness. And I'm just so happy to see that we're finally exploring some of the tools that the ancients used for healing for themselves. And we're doing something other than just Western medicine. But before we get into all of the techie stuff, I wanted to ask you if you could please share with us a little bit about your story and how you arrived at developing this technology. I know that you've had quite a journey, and if you could share with us a little bit about your healing and what led you to this discovery.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's the boring part. I just want to get into the conversation. And I'm sure a lot of stuff will come in and blanks will be filled in. So let me just say this is my fourth career. Engineering, automotive, telecommunications, project management, Hollywood, and now, health and wellness. But I think all along, this was the path, this was the journey, but the universe had a funny sense of humor to make sure that I went through all these phases to get to where I am today so that I could do what I'm doing. Because technically, as an engineer in an engineering mind, if you have any listeners out there that are engineers, we're kind of skeptical, we're hard-headed. It takes a lot to convince us that something is real. And so I think I needed that to start out with, to do this and to really study it to the point where there's probably not any science that can explain it, because there's not a lot of tools and technology that can measure scalar waves or that can measure frequencies and auras and energies. But when you get thousands of testimonials, you start to realize, okay, there's got to be something to this.
I know you have some interesting pathways as far as how you arrived at this technology. Can you share a little bit more specifically about what brought you into developing this?
Just like many healers, we all ended up being super sick and had to heal ourselves. And that's really how this all happened. I was always a type A personality. I go back to 7 years old even 4 years old. I was even competitive. And 7 years old, I started playing softball and I wanted to be the best one on the team. So everything I do well, and I study it and I learn it and I master it. And so doing that for, all the years that I was doing it, I ended up making myself sick because I was go, 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 go. Never stopped, always trying to prove myself to somebody and myself. So after the challenging career in automotive and then international business and telecom and then Hollywood, I basically was on the verge of an instant heart attack. And I felt it. I felt it coming on, but I couldn't stop. I was 37 years old and had been going since I was 14 years old. I started working because my mom wouldn't buy me the things that I wanted. I'm like, okay, I'll just get my own job and I'll buy my own stuff. And so I had 36 babysitting jobs because my mom was the president of the PTG, or the Parent Teacher Guild. So I never had children of my own because after that I was like, kids? No, no, no more kids. And so I bought my mom a gold diamond mother's ring when I was 16 for Mother's Day because I had so much money. And so just this whole time since I jumped out of the womb, I've been going. So at age 37, I kind of hit a brick wall. And the only thing that I think saved me was sound and light therapy. Then I started jumping into that. And I read over 200 books on how light therapy works, how sound therapy works, Eastern medicine, Western medicine, the anatomy of the body, the chakras, the organs, how each organ holds information on emotions, everything I could find about nature sounds, waveforms of instruments, the solfeggio suite. I went to the Monroe Institute and studied out-of-body experiences. I went to Peru. I went to Egypt. I went to Greece to study how did they do healing and tuning into the energies there of Asclepios, might be saying it wrong, all through Egypt. And I brought those energies back in the harmonic egg. And people feel it. They're like, this has Egyptian roots. This has Greek roots. Yes, it does. Because the ancients knew what the heck they were doing for healing. And we got overtaken by greed in medicine because really, where is the profit from sunlight and nutrition and just in general sound and light? So I wanted to bring all that back. And I like the resonant chamber. A lot of modalities are coming out. Yay. A lot of modalities are already out. Yay. We need to find what resonates with each of our galactic bodies. We're all wired differently. There is no one size fits all, but I like the resonant chamber. That really resonates with me. And you're immersed in a beautiful, yeah, no pun intended. I thought I'll say that. Thanks for saying it for me. Because you're immersed in this. It's not being released into the ether and just dissipating. You're really immersing into it. And so that's what I like about it. But you talk about Edgar Cayce, Wilhelm Reich, Royal Rife, Nikola Tesla. Those were influencers in my consciousness that came through with the egg. And then to add on to that, it's a Syrian technology. There's Palladian technologies out there. There's Arcturian technologies. There are Andromedan technologies. So it's all coming back to this galactic ancient consciousness of, more love, more kindness, less fear, less judgment. And that's what I'm trying to promote. And I believe when you go into the harmonic egg, you raise your consciousness and you heal individually. And until we can all heal individually, we can't heal collectively. So you raise your consciousness, you connect to the universal wisdom, your higher self, and you just have this bliss. And you start to feel the oneness that we all are. And I truly can love so much more than I used to. I was raised by a mother who was very judgmental and critical. And I was my mother for many, many years and was judgmental and critical. And I realized that didn't make me feel good. It makes me feel good to spend time in love and gratitude and hug a stranger or just tell some woman her eyes are beautiful or her outfit is amazing. And I couldn't do that before because I would be jealous. I would be critical, like, oh, like, I wish I looked like her or something like that. I do not want to be anyone else but me today.
That is making me tear up because so many people have to hear that there is okay to change. You So many people have that mom. It might be the generation, I don't know, that was judgmental and, maybe a little harsher than the ones now with the play dates and the timeouts. We didn't get that. So that's just beautiful. Like literally, like you made me tear because I know that, I mean, Tara, myself, all of us. So thank you for sharing that. That means a lot to probably a lot of people listening. Um, that transition from being like perhaps like your mother and to what you're doing now with this beautiful technology with the egg. Was there a certain point? I know you got ill, but was there something divine that happened or something specific? I'm not going to say like a Kundalini awakening, but that happened to you that brought you to that other side that made you kind of look at yourself and start reading all those books.
I think it was my second ex-husband. Yes, I've been married twice. I don't have any astrologically, I don't have anything in my marriage house. So I really shouldn't have done that. But my second husband, who was brilliant, and I still would do anything in the world for, I loved him at some point, and for some, time period, I would still do anything for him if he needed something. And same with my first husband. And we still talk. But he said to me one day in a kind of a heat of rage, okay, Nancy. And that was my mother's name. And it hit me so hard. And I was like, oh, hell no. I do not act like my mother. And then I started to really go and do my inner work. And I did. I was exactly my mother. And that was just one of those pivotal moments that said, okay, it's time for change.
That's just incredible that you were able to do that. Not a lot of people are. And that's
No.
what brings you to that next vibration, that higher vibration, is being able to do that. I wanted to ask you, do you think, I know you mentioned the Palladian and these other entities that helped you get to this technology and wanting to go down this road of the egg. Was there something in specific that I mean, how do you know it was a Palladian entity or whatever other entity that it was that helped you get this knowledge to bring to us? How did you get there?
Absolutely. I wanna go back to one more story about mom because my mom passed away in 2017, and she's just a beautiful soul, so she wants me to tell this story as well. Um, there was a gentleman that I went to. It was a psychic healer, reader, channeler, whatever you call it, and he said to me, he said, "How come you keep coming back into reincarnation with the same souls?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Your mom and dad. You keep coming back and you keep having to do the same thing over, and you guys aren't learning the lessons." I said, "You know what? If you would please tell me how to get rid of these two people forever, I would be so grateful because I can't stand them." This was probably, I was 28 years old. And he said, "Okay, so you need to put up a picture of your mom and tell your mom every day that you love her." I said, "I can't. I will throw up. I can't do it. I just can't." And he said, "Okay, then just keep having the same experience over and over." I said, "Okay, I'm going to do it because I want to get rid of them forever." And it was hilarious how energy works. And as soon as I started saying I love her, everything shifted. Before she passed away, we were best friends, and I even have an email from her in when I was probably 37 or so. And it says, "You're my best friend. I can tell you anything." This was a woman I hated with a passion. My dad was an alcoholic. I just wanted to get rid of him forever. And I would be honored to have another lifetime with them at this point. So it was really a lot of intense healing. And I think that maybe some of your audience might need to hear that too. That's what my mom's saying.
That's a dramatic shift to make because and I've heard stories like that from other people as well who have, shared that there was a rift at one point from a story I recall where the person, um, just they could not get over it was a breakup, and they couldn't get over the loss of this person in their life, and the moment that they said the words of "I forgive you and I love you," that was it. The cord was cut. The energetic cord was completely gone. And they said they could literally feel this, feeling of just remorse and the heaviness lift off of them. And they said they never, ever had that moment of regret or anger or frustration towards that person again. It was just like they needed to have that one moment where they were very honest and very direct and allowed their feelings to come through. And so I think that's a really powerful thing that you just shared, because like you said, I think a lot of people maybe need to hear something like that. When you're holding on to that resentment and that anger and that fear and frustration, you're actually locking yourself into whatever the negative engagement is that you have with that person, that entity, whatever it might be. So thank you for sharing that.
And at that high vibration of love and gratitude and forgiveness, there's nothing that can't be accomplished. Miracles can happen in a split second, like you said. So yeah, absolutely. So we can go back to the Syrian thing now. My mom wanted that to be stated. So thanks, Mom. I was sitting in the prototype egg, which was horrendously ugly because it was a prototype. And like the light was hanging and it was looked like it was going to fall down, really. And it was just at that moment, I had blue light on the bottom and purple light on the top. And I heard that the Syrian teachers were the ones that came through. My Syrian family had come through and helped me to bring this to the earth plane at this time in history. And then I had to start looking up Syrians. But at that moment, there was something that was so strong, so strongly resonated with me, because I started crying, but it was a happy cry and a sad cry. Never really experienced that kind of cry before, where I was so happy to be reconnected with my Syrian family, but then so sad because I realized how much I missed them. And so they showed me when I was born, they showed me that there was some being in the room, angelic or otherwise, some entity in the room that was rubbing their hands together in so much excitement and saying, "She's here." It wasn't mom and dad. It wasn't the nurse or doctor. And I thought, well, big deal. I'm here. I'm no one. I was just born in Detroit and, I had this journey. And now I realize that we're all here and we're all so freaking magical that we should be so happy. We should be so excited. We should let everything flow. We should manifest the crap out of our entire life, live in joy and happiness and community and love, and everything will just work out. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's so crazy. And they told me, contact Douglas. Okay, there was a guy that I know. His name is Douglas. He's, I think he just turned 80. And I said, okay, I haven't talked to him in years. So here's the conversation. Hello, Douglas. Are you Syrian? This is how I started a conversation with him after not talking to him for years. And he says, as a matter of fact, I am. Why do you ask? And I said, you got to come in here. You got to come and try this egg thing. I've created this egg thing. It's Syrian technology. He shows up at my center and he says, in fact, this is Syrian. And he said, I used to fly these around. These were ships that we could heal in. We would fly around and all through the universe. And so he said, I don't want to lean back in the chair. I want to sit up straight because I remember flying these. Okay, great. Enjoy your session. He comes out. He's done brethren diets. He's studied with, the Aborigines. And he's done a lot of stuff. And he said, that was the most divine feminine, beautiful, loving experience I've ever had. He said they were rubbing my face in just a softness and a love and so much divine feminine power. He said it's definitely, a Syrian technology. So that's how I discovered that. And then time and time again, people, did you know this is a Syrian technology? Yeah, I do.
You're like, I made it. Of course I know that.
I didn't know at first.
Speaking of making and creating the egg, I'd love if you would share. I know there was a story that I've heard you say before where you were wondering how it could be developed and you were kind of asking around. And I don't want to take away from the story. So I'd love if you could share that with us in your own words.
Tell me
Do you
more
know the one
about
I'm
what the
talking about?
question or what the no, so
Sure.
tell me more and then I'll know.
So this is where you were asking if it could be how it could be made. You were kind of giving like the dimensions of it, and you were asking like, could this be made? And you were running into people saying, no, it couldn't be made.
Yeah, yeah. Now I know what you're talking about. Yes, because there's two parts to that, when it was being made and before it was made. So I have a CAD and drafting background. So I called this manufacturing company in another state, and I said, this is what I want to do. And they said, this can't be done. Well, they were already making the light box that I was using currently. So I thought, you guys can do this. Just make it in an egg shape. No big deal, right? Can't be done. And I said, well, you know what? Walt Disney said, if you can dream it, you can do it. And he said, well, you're not Walt Disney. And so as soon as somebody tells me I can't do something, get out of my way. What is this saying in Idaho? Hold my beer and watch this. Yeah, I said, hold my beer, watch. Get out of my way. Well, my friend who is very much the consciousness of Tesla, his name is Wayman, and he happened to, no accident, walk into the center, and I hadn't seen him for a year or two. Hey, what's going on? I said, I want to build this large wooden egg. He goes, okay, let's do it. I'm like, I can't really, I was just told I couldn't get it done. He goes, if you can draw it for me, I will do it. 15 minutes later, I come out of my office, top view, side view, cutout view, all these different views. He's like, you just did this. I said, yeah. And here's how it needs to be. The golden ratio, this size by this size, this, everything happens, this way. Okay. Well, I don't have any tools. So I said, okay, let me buy you some tools. So he came into my center because I had a brick and mortar location at the time. He came in every night and would just build and build and build and build because he couldn't make noise during the day because I had clients all day. I'd come in the next day. I'd say, well, that's not right. Well, this is what you drew. I'm like, it's not right. And he had like end caps. He's like, well, maybe people can just sit in this dome. That's one of the parabolas of the egg. I said, no, can't, no. And so he quit. I fired him. He came back. He quit again. I fired him again. I mean, we have this really loving relationship, which is awesome. And finally he did it. I said, that's it. This is it. Okay. And we just started testing it. We had doctors come in, DOs, MDs, plant therapy people, acupuncturists, cranial sacral people, just all come in and test it. I'm like, okay, can we do it 2 days in a row? Oh, it's a little intense for 2 days. Can we do it for an hour? That's a little long. It's kind of intense for an hour session. So we started figuring out, okay, how long should the session be? How long does it take to integrate? And we took 6 months to do this, and we came up with the protocol that is today. Now, it may change as the consciousness of the planet changes, as we raise our consciousness as human beings, that may change, but right now the protocol works really well.
Now, if you can walk us through what would one experience? So if I show up for a session and I'm interested in trying one out, I understand there's something called an egg guardian. Is that right? I love that. And
Correct.
who is an egg guardian, and what is their job as the guardian of the egg?
So I created this divine feminine business model, and I really wanted it to be of cooperation and not competition because I'm so tired of the patriarchal business models. It's a franchise. You pay the person at the top, and there's this rich person at the top, and they're not sharing in abundance. And I said, you know what? How can I create a business model where I can create abundance for everyone? And we can all have a world that just works for everyone and everybody feels happy and they can go on vacations and they can have a house because they work so hard and they can enjoy their kids. How can we do this? So I said, if we have egg guardians and my brand attributes are love, integrity, reliability, and community, everyone signs a contract to be an egg guardian. These are the brand attributes that you will follow. These are the protocols you will follow. You will be the best part of the egg community. We will support each other with a private Facebook page and owner calls with me. And most CEOs just take your money and run. You get to see me every month. We're going to be on a video call. And so far, I haven't waffled from that. I have over 150 locations. Yes, it's very stressful, and there's only one of me to go around, but this is what I wanted. I don't want a bunch of pins of locations on a website. I want every website or every pin on my website of harmonicegg.com to have an integral owner that's full of love and community and is a best part of the egg community as an egg guardian. And that's what I wanted. That's the community I wanted to build. And I love my egg guardians. They love each other. I think they love me, I think they do. And there's so much gratitude. There's so much love. And that's what I wanted to create. I think that is the business model of the future.
I think that's absolutely amazing. And I think a lot of us who have small businesses could learn a thing or two from that.
It's crazy. It's been so easy. Once I made that decision to do that, I've never wanted or needed anything. Money is energy. I've always had the energy of money around. And it's a funny story that came up because when I was 29 years old, I had a psychic tell me, you're not going to be financially stable until you're 50 or in your 50s. And I didn't have two dimes to rub together. So I think at that point, I put that in my subconscious, and I suffered for 20 years because she told me that, which makes me very angry that healers are that irresponsible. Because she told me that, I struggled until I was in my 50s. But in my astrological chart, there is no suffering. In our human being experience here, there is no suffering. It's joy, it's happiness, it's abundance, it's love, it's everything. But when she put that in my head, and I did try to find her years later, she had passed away. And I was going to be like, Sally, listen, you put that in my head and I manifested that. And so that was really irresponsible. But I think there's definitely a business model here. When is too much enough? Why do you have to have 15 mansions and a plane and a boat and 16 cars? I don't need that. I need my house with my horse. I need, organic foods. I need a car to drive around in. After that, I'm sharing. I just did a documentary called It's Time. It is time for more love. It's time for more sharing and oneness and forgiveness and non-judgment. I funded the whole thing by myself. I'm offering it for free so everybody can watch it for free because this is the message that I am passionate about getting out there. I want the thank you wave when I let somebody in on the highway. I want the thank you when I hold the door open for somebody. And if somebody doesn't say thank you, and you guys brought this up in a podcast, I heard it. I say, if they don't say thank you, I say, you're welcome, because I want to be recognized and I want them to recognize that there needs to be more kindness in this world.
Yeah, that's the sword I'm going to die on too, because that's a big thing for me is holding that door open. It's funny. Ever since we did that, I'm even more acutely aware of it. So when I'm going in and out of the grocery store, I'm just like, you better hold that door open.
How hard, like you said, how hard is it? How hard is it to throw your hand up and say thank you when somebody really makes an effort to slow down to let you in because you put your turn signal on? I want, and it's a Seinfeld episode, the thank you wave, right? That you want the thank you wave.
Yes, that's right. That's right. And then since we're talking about it, one more thing I'm going to add to my list, which is something I like to do, is anytime I'm at a checkout, specifically at a checkout, but it could be with, when you're being served a meal at a restaurant or, or just encountering other people out in your day. Whenever I'm doing some contractual, business, whether, like I said, I'm at a restaurant, I'm at the grocery checkout, I make sure to look the person directly in the eye. Some people, it's amazing to me. And if you start paying attention, you'll see people don't look at each other in the eye anymore. They look down, they're looking at their phone, they're getting something out of their wallet. Like, okay, thanks, bye. I stop and I pause for a moment and I look at them in the eye and I say, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And it's amazing how people get caught off guard by that because nobody does that anymore. People don't look at each other. And it's just another one of my little PSAs where I just think it's so important to make a connection with somebody and really look them in the eye and appreciate them and say thank you.
100%. And I studied iridology. So I look people in the eyes, and I even was connected with my aunt recently, and she had a little spot at the bottom of her iris. I said, how bad is your back pain? And she's like, huh? how do you know I have back pain? I go, I can see it in your eyes. And she's like, do I look like I'm in pain? I said, no, it's iridology. And I was trying to teach her. So I do look in people's eyes and try to see where maybe they're suffering and, try to just say a nice little thing to them to help them to realize that they are magical. They are here for a reason. People appreciate them and people can be kind.
When you are kind to somebody else, that vibration is so powerful because you feel it too. Like you said, like it's such a better way of living. And I wish that the world will get there. I know we're going to get there. But I just want us to get there sooner because it does feel, it's almost selfish. Like you'll give someone a compliment and that joy that they get, it fills you up. So it's like I say all the time, Tara and I both say this, you get a lot more flies with a spoonful of honey than you do a barrel full of vinegar. And it's like, it's true. I mean, and it's helpful and it makes you feel good. I mean, if you want to be a little selfish, you can go around giving everyone compliments so you feel good. I mean, but it is a better way of living. That's all I wanted to say.
I was really sad during COVID when everyone was wearing masks and scared of each other. And I was so, 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 so sad. I can't say so enough on that one. And I would have people come into my center and go, can I give you a hug? Absolutely, you can give me a hug. I'm not afraid. I never had COVID. I don't even know. I haven't been sick in years and years and years. But I think when you live in love and gratitude, it does not attract any diseases. And I even had the lady at the grocery store. And I want to say I'm a little bit of a germaphobe, but I'm going to cancel that because I'm not, I don't want to own that. But she had her mask on and I realized how dirty the masks were, that people are always touching them. And I'm like, oh, and she said, can I give you a hug? And I have this long hair. And so her mask was like in my hair. And I'm like, oh, I'm like, but you can't deny the hug, right? She asked me for a hug. I'm like, absolutely, you can have a hug.
I'm going to go home and wash my hair after this, but
Right.
Sure, hug away.
But you don't want to hug a lion. Tara and I.
That's a little inside joke that
I was going to say there's got to be an inside joke here.
It's not even
that
funny,
one later.
but just every time I think you're like, you have to get the hug. Well, you don't want to hug a lion. It doesn't matter. We can cut that out. But oh my God,
I have an inside joke
every time I think of it.
We have an inside joke because good luck chicken, and it's from Caesar, the dog whisperer, when he has
I love him.
This dog that keeps eating the chickens. The dog keeps eating the chickens all the time. The dog's eating the chickens. So he comes over and he's got to help these people so the dog doesn't eat the chicken. So at the end of the show, the dog's in a pen and he throws the chicken and he says, good luck, chicken. You know how he's got his accent, right? And so now every time something's going on, my sister says something, I got to go to this place and I got to do this. I'm like, good luck, chicken. And so it's a whole family joke now. You get this emoji with a
good luck chicken
clover and a chicken.
That's really
funny. I would have to say it with the accent though. I would have to be like, good luck, chicken.
Good luck, chicken. Yeah.
That's so
I have
funny.
to mute
Okay.
My dog is barking. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we can hear. We can hear.
We love dogs.
So Gail, I wanted
kitties and horses.
I know, and I have my cat who's just about to start making some noise over here. So Gail, I wanted to jump back because you just brought up manifestation a second ago, and I have heard you talk about how you manifested the money to create the prototype for the egg, and I would love if you would be willing to share that story.
That's a funny story, and it came in the form of a car accident, which is freaking hilarious. And so I tell people, I got in this car accident. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. And they're like, wait a minute, did you just say you got in a car accident? Best thing that ever happened to you? Yes. So I feel like I had all the components of the egg and there was just one little piece missing. And this was what Wayman and I were going back and forth. And I'm like, it's just not right. Well, what's wrong with it? I don't know. It's just not right. And I feel like my guides were like, okay, this woman is just not getting this. We're going to have to blast her to another reality or something. So I feel like this whole accident happened and, here comes the intersection. The girl's going to run through the red light. She's going 60 miles an hour. My light's green and I got a truck right in my view. So I can't see that she's coming. And It was a snowy day. The street light was covered with snow because we have these new LED lights that they don't heat up. So the snow packs on them. So she was 16 years old, couldn't see. So just kept going, right? I mean, when you're 16, you're like, I don't see red. I don't see green. I'm just going to keep going. Bam. My guides were like, okay, this is going to happen. We're so sorry. We have to do this to her right now. Smack. Spun around the intersection. Pretty sure it was an NDE because some guy opened up. He couldn't open up the driver's door. And so he opened up the passenger door to see if I was okay. And I said, hey, how are you? It's so good to see you. I had no idea who this guy was. But in that moment, I knew him. I knew everything. That's what the NDEs kind of report. I just knew everything. I knew him. I loved him. I loved everything. Everything was wonderful. And he's like, okay, you're a weirdo. I don't know you, but here's my number. I got to go. She ran the red light. I will be a witness. And I'm out of the car and I'm talking to the lady. There was a grandma was in the back seat. Her mom was in the front seat. She's 16. I'm sure she was traumatized for years after. And I'm like, are you guys okay? And they're looking at me like, this woman is crazy. They're like, are you okay? I said, oh yeah, I'm great. I'm fine. It's all fine. The fireman's there. He's trying to get me to go in the ambulance. I'm like, no, I'm fine. I got clients. I got to go get my clients. They got to go put them into the light box. I got to go. He said, listen, you are whacking crazy. You're sick. You need to go to the hospital. You can't even see. I said, no, I'm good. I'm good. Well, what I realize is when you can hit a trauma within 6 hours, some people say 15 minutes, but my mentor told me if you can hit a trauma within 6 hours, it doesn't have time to even remember. Your cell memory doesn't remember it. So I knew I needed to get to my office. I knew I needed to get into the light box. This was before the egg. And I had clients all day. Miraculously, my 2:00 canceled, which was my time to go in. And people that have had this kind of accident have traumatic brain injuries, TBIs, they have, permanent damage forever and ever. And I'm fine. But at that moment, the rest of the egg came through. And I was like, okay, well, how am I going to really get this fully built? I need X amount of dollars. And there was an insurance company that calls me up. They said, we have to do a settlement. I said, no, I'm not suing her. I felt horrible for her and her family. And they said, no, because it was her fault, we have to give you a settlement. And it was like the exact amount that I needed to do the prototype. Ha, 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 right?
Wow.
So it's kind of funny. Best thing that ever happened to me is a car accident.
And meanwhile, you're like, no, it's okay. I don't need it. And your guide is like, yes, you do.
Right. They're like, we did this whole thing. This is how this all was supposed to work out. Don't say no.
Right. Wow. That is just incredible. I mean, that is a great manifestation story right there. I mean, not great in the sense that you don't want to get into a car accident to manifest something, but I'm glad it turned out where you got what you needed.
Yeah, that had to happen to me that way. I'm a Scorpio. I'm stubborn. And they're like, you know what? She's just not getting it. Let's just blast her into another stratosphere and then she'll get it. It'll be okay. She won't get hurt.
Wow. Amazing. Okay, so let's jump forward to the egg now. Okay, so I'm very fascinated by this technology. And I have watched a couple of videos of people talking about their experience with the egg. I have heard people say they've had transformative experiences where they feel like they were leaving their body. Not all, of course, but some have said this. Some feel like it was a shamanistic type experience. So what is it that is causing people to have these spiritual experiences? Because you would think when it comes to technology, okay, it has healing components. That's amazing. And that's what you're there for. But people are transcending that and they're actually going into a spiritual place. So where is that coming from and what is causing that with people?
And that's a great question. I don't know if I have all the answers, but I can tell you what I believe currently. Because of the sacred geometry, because of the love and the integrity. And, there's machines out there that people are going to go and feel into and feel yuck because the inventor doesn't have integrity. The inventor doesn't live in a space of love. And so unfortunately, everything is energy. So my energy's in the egg, which, it just is. That's what I brought through. It's not from me, it's come through me. And so I feel like there's a spiritual component when we can check in to our higher self, we can tune into the universal wisdom, and people will tell me the same thing. It's transformative. They had a spiritual experience. They had an out of body experience. And I think that's just the journey that the egg is giving them to make them realize how freaking magical they are, how amazing they are. And sometimes we don't know what we don't know, but you might have in your subconscious that I would love to have this spiritual experience. I would love to have an out of body experience. The egg can give you that. And then you know what it feels like. So there's been a lot of times it's like, okay, I don't really know how to meditate. I'm really suck at that because I can't turn my brain off. Tune into the breath and then tune into whatever. But then for that split second, I am somewhere else. And then I know what I didn't know. I tune into my horse. And one time I asked, I want to be one with Holly. And there's been fleeting moments that I haven't been able to get back to without practice and without really trying. But then when you try too hard, you don't get there, where I am one with her. And it is the most beautiful, amazing, blissful, joyful feeling when you are one with a horse. And I've been one with a dolphin at one point last year. And I'm hoping to experience it again in November when I go back to Island Dolphin Care. It's one of my charities that I give back to. So I get a private swim with the dolphins every year for my donation. And we did a belly swim. And you are sitting in this murky water, so you can't see the dolphin come up. You've got your arms straight out. You're waiting for their fins to come up. You grab their fins, pull yourself towards their belly, and then they swim upside down, and you're on top. OMG, amazing. That oneness was so beautiful. So I think that the egg can give you these experiences that you so desire. And then you get to know what you didn't know.
And when you visited with your horse after you had that oneness experience with Holly, did you notice if she had a different reaction? Like, did she feel that in some energetic way too, do you think?
After so many egg sessions, I've cleared so much trauma that I can talk to the plants. I can talk to animals. I can see colors and music. The clairs have gotten so much more powerful. And there's so many more clairs that I didn't even know that people could have. So with Holly, this happened yesterday. I have 2 little barn kittens that moved into the barn, and they're beautiful and lovely. And I'm not really a cat person, but I am now because I've fallen in love with these little turds. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this cats, right? I just love them. Well, the little boy got cocky because Holly's she's very mature and she's very self-aware. So he was laying in the middle of the doorway and she usually goes around him. Well, she flat out smashed him right with her hoof. I'm freaking out. Worst sound I've ever heard. She smashed him in the shoulder and her hoof was totally on his arm and his shoulder, and he's screaming. And I didn't want to, if I started screaming, she probably would have started stomping and killed him. So I just said, okay, Gail, stop, think. Put my hand on her chest, told her to get back. She moved off of him and she felt so bad, but yet she's still a wild animal. I had her treats, her 10:30 snack in my hand. She was trudging forward on that. He should have never trusted her. He should have, moved, but she's gone around him before. So it's been now a full day. She still is so remorseful. And I can't get out of the place of being mad at her because she should have known better. So whenever I'm coming outside now, she's like, Mom, please don't be mad at me. Like, I didn't mean it. I was going for my food. And I'm like, I love you, girl, but I'm still just angry that you weren't self-aware. Like, I know you are. She's 26 years old. I'm starting to tear up. I'm so sorry. She smashed that little boy. So immediately I put his picture in the egg. I did have these light therapy pens, so I put the blue light on him. I did Reiki on him, and I never felt so much love. My heart was so big when I wrapped my arm or my hand around his little right paw. I couldn't I could feel the loving energy. And he's not even limping today. Like, what happened? And I know I
Oh,
can say all the engineering things like, okay, well, kittens still have soft bones. And I mean, she straight up smashed this little guy.
yeah.
And then I felt guilty, and I told him when I was coming, I said, here comes the horse. Everybody needs to move. And he was just like laying there, like, I'm the man of the house. She'll go around me. And she just straight up stepped right on him.
Yeah.
And
Mm,
she knows I'm upset about it. She's been off all day
yeah.
today and even last
Oh,
night. And then I had to close the door because I was trying to nurture him and he didn't need to see her face, right? Her big old face, like, what's going on? What's going on? So I closed the door and she's got her mouth on the doorknob trying to open it. Like, I need to see that he's okay. I need to see he's
yeah.
okay. I need to see. I'm like, Holly, stop. I need to see he's okay. He ran up in the rafters. I was crawling in the rafters to try to get him down. I thought he was dying up
Mm,
there and I didn't know what was going on. But now tuning into the whole situation, it was such a beautiful experience for all of us to have, from the little girl
mm,
kitten, the little boy kitten, and horse, and me. I had a healer come over today and check him out. And she said, there might be a little bit of soft tissue damage, but he feels fine. Spinal,
oh,
everything seems in
good.
place. I'm like, great. And then she
Yeah.
started working on Holly, and she stepped on him with her left hoof on his right hand or arm, and her left shoulder was just twinging. She touched it and it would just twinge. It was like the trauma
Mm,
was still in there.
yeah.
And people don't realize how many things we can see when we just pay attention. We just
Mhm.
listen and sit in silence. And so, yeah, it
Mm.
was, sorry. I guess I really never cried about it yet, but I was weak in
No.
the knees. I see my
Yeah.
kitten, my little handsome boy underneath the hoof
Mhm.
of a 1,200-pound
Right.
horse. And I'm like, I can't freak out, but it happened so fast, but yet it
Right.
felt like it lasted an hour.
Right,
Yeah.
I
right.
can't freak out because if I scream, she's gonna start stomping and jumping and so
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, Gail, I got her food bowl in one hand, I got my hand, I was just pushed her back.
Yeah.
And the funniest thing that is funny today, he had the wherewithal to stop, stand in front of her, and just hiss till then he ran off. It was like he was like, "You bitch."
Watch, they're gonna
But
become the
yeah,
best of friends. You just wait and see. It just now
oh,
that
I
they've had
gotta.
this in their, in their past, they're gonna find some way to animals are very resilient, and I just commend you
Oh,
for
they're very loving.
taking, you took that moment to be thoughtful of like, don't freak out, because I think a lot of people would do that, which would have caused an issue, more of an issue. So you did the right thing. But yeah, I think it's one of those things where animals just, they're going to be animals and they're going to do what comes
Right,
naturally to
right.
them.
And
Yeah.
just something you said really hit me. It's so crazy how animals have that ability to make you fall in love with them, even when it's not your thing. Like your thing is horses, and then there comes this cat, and you became a cat person. Like they just, if you give them just a moment, they will invade your heart. And look at you, like just having this experience with, an entity that came into your life unexpected, and now you have all this love.
Yeah. It was insane. The love was the heart energy. I was like, I cannot describe in words. There are no words for what I felt when I put my hand around his right paw to try to just heal him with my own energy. And he was limping yesterday and he seems fine today. So
Well, that makes me
It's
happy to hear that.
me too. Back to
Now,
the
is
egg.
the back to the egg, and I have a question about that actually related to this. Can animals go into the egg?
yeah, animals can go in. I was always careful when I had my center because if some people are allergic to animals, I didn't want them to
Mm.
get an allergic reaction going into the
Oh,
egg.
yeah.
But I put the horse's picture. I put the little boy kitty's picture in there yesterday. As soon as it happened, because I thought, you know what? I remembered the 6 hours. If it's been within 6 hours of the trauma, I didn't want his little body to remember that, so I put him right in the egg. But it was his picture. And yeah, pictures can go in. And to me, that's amazing because as an engineer, I think that's a little bit woo-woo crazy. You can put somebody's picture in there and all of a sudden there's a healing. But also if you're a Christian, I was raised Catholic, people would send prayers to my family or send prayers. We'd be asked to send prayers to another family. That's just sending energy, and prayers have healed people. So it's to me not any different.
Right. Exactly. And I know the egg has multiple components to it, right? It's got sound, it has a frequency, it has, what else am I missing? There's like 4 different components, I
The
believe,
vibration.
and
Yeah, the vibration.
the vibration. So is this, would this be considered scalar technology, or would it be electromagnetic frequency? I know there's different types of healing modalities out there now. So what category would you put this in?
So if scalar energy is in fact pure love and it can't be measured, I would say that when people come into the egg, they feel loved, they feel hugged, they feel in a womb space. So I want to say that the egg is scalar energy because we are operating with pure love. And each of the egg guardians, they love their eggs, they name their eggs, they just adore their eggs, they share testimonials about their eggs and how they've helped and served other people. So I believe we are working with scalar energy. Electromotive force, EMF, electromagnetic force, however it's said, if you're an engineer, electromotive force sometimes. There's no EMFs inside, but there is a subwoofer under the chair. So in my engineering mind, there should be EMFs inside the egg. Okay, I have a tri-field EMF meter. There's no EMFs in the egg. So is it acting as a Faraday cage? Because outside of the egg is the amplifier and the music player, the MP3 player, and there's definite EMFs coming off of that, but not inside, which to me is a little bit crazy. So there's not EMFs. I don't operate it with frequencies like 528 hertz or the solfeggio suite. I don't want to operate it that way because I don't feel that every being is going to resonate with that. You might be vibrating at 800 hertz or 1000 hertz, but you might also be vibrating at 250. So yeah, 396 might be great for you or 528. But if you're vibrating at 800, I don't want to put you on 528 hertz because to me, and maybe I'm wrong in my thinking, that brings you lower. So I want to really help you to have a natural energy. So I don't use binaural beats. I don't use any of that because I don't want to force the brain to come into balance. When I went to the Monroe Institute and studied about the binaural beats, it felt very forced, the energy in the check units that you lie in. And I feel like my brain needed to be in the right a little bit longer, and it was forcing it to go to the left and the balance. And I wanted it to be more natural with my experience. So I don't use those pieces of music, but I do use the waveforms of instruments. And the egg asks for what it needs. So the egg recently started telling me, not only do you need to serve the clients, you need to serve the land with your music. I'm like, what? So we just created a piece called When Nature Sings, and it's trumpet and drumming, and it hydrates the human, but it's also hydrating the microbes on the land. And so when I hire a musician, I say, we have to stay in a place of love the whole time you're working on this. You can't go out of that. If you have your cat die, we had one musician, the cat died, and she said, I need to stop because I'm going to put that sadness in this piece of music. I said, please do stop. I don't care if it's going to take you another year to finish the piece. You can't do it until you are in a good place of love. And so then I say, okay, and you're going to hold this intention that this piece is going to help hydrate the body and hydrate the land. The microbes on the land are very dehydrated, which is, we're eating dehydrated food. So we're dehydrated. So the root cause is the land and not necessarily, I have electrolytes always in my water because pure water is not really hydrating. I know people are like, wait, what did she just say? Water's not hydrating? No, it's not. The body needs to hydrate with electrolytes, and the cells are made up of potassium and calcium and sodium. And, so I wanted these pieces of music to be the waveforms of the instruments. So we know that the waveform of the flute will help with the liver, and the piano's helping the autonomic nervous system. And that's, reading a book by Kay Gardner, who's now passed, called Sounding the Inner Landscape, really taught me a lot about the waveforms of instruments and how they affect the body. So when you're inside the egg, you're actually getting sound and light and vibration, but the waveforms of the instruments to me are very magical. And each piece of music that we create a song sheet. So I know while I'm in the egg listening to it, I'm saying, okay, it's evoking this chakra. This is the color I see. So these are the colors we'll, default to when somebody's listening to that piece. And we have this whole song sheet. So then we started creating them as downloads for people to purchase and use at home, because you have this whole song sheet that you can play with at home. You can eat those color foods while you're listening to that piece. You can wear those color clothing or jewelry. And it's really fun. And it's a fun way for people to heal at home. If they don't have access to an egg, we only have 150 some locations in the whole world. So there's 12 countries with 150 locations. Not everyone's going to be able to access an egg, but you can do remote sessions. And I do remote sessions with some of the other centers. So New Zealand, love the remote sessions with New Zealand, because New Zealand's land is so honoring of trees and nature. So when I was in for the session in the New Zealand egg, I wanted to just go talk to my trees. So I was walking around from tree to tree to tree while I was in session. And with the Peru egg, I actually got kind of headache-y, if that's a word, when I was in the Peru egg, because she wanted to have Pachamama really share with me the land of Peru, which I've been to Peru before, but it was such a beautiful experience of her intention of like, hey, here, Pachamama, give Gail some energy from you. And I got a little headache. It was really intense. So just lots of water to flush out. So I try to do sessions, and people can do sessions if they can't visit a place and there's an egg there. Go do a remote session, because you'll tune into the land, and it's very beautiful.
And I've also heard people talk about the egg as an energy portal. So I found this part really fascinating. I've heard somebody talk about it, saying that they felt it was a sentient being and that it's part of a communication network of a collective consciousness, and that it operates at a higher frequency on a quantum level as an energy device. And it allows for high energy beings to come in and out of the chamber. So I was curious your thoughts on that, because that was fascinating to hear. And they were very confident and passionate about that.
Yes. And we don't talk about this on podcasts when I'm talking to a medical doctor for sure, but you guys have the audience that's open to this. So I can tell you there's, and this is kind of funny too, there's an egg in Asheville, North Carolina. And, Asheville kind of got wiped out recently with the first hurricane. Didn't touch the egg. We have an egg in Fort Myers. They've had several hurricanes, doesn't touch the egg. We have an egg in Louisville, Colorado, didn't get touched by the Marshall fires. We have eggs in Tornado, where there was tornadoes, flooding. There's eggs in Maui. They're still there. There's something magical about the egg that nature's like, whoop, yep, go around the egg. It's so insane. Now it's probably like 9 or 10 centers that have been through some natural disaster, and the egg's fine. So the Asheville egg, the guy called me up and he said, I think I got to ask the land if the egg can be here. Okay. Yes. Okay. The land said it wants to be here. I don't hear from him for a while, and I hear back from him. He said, now just know that there's dragon energy here, and there's, Yeti energy, and there's fairy energy. I'm like, okay. Now I think this guy's a little wacko, right? Because I'm thinking this was years ago too. And so I show up there and I have a dream that there's dragons are circling around the egg, and they're just investigating it, trying to figure out what it is. I go into the dragon portal. Now he gives me this staff with a crystal on it, and I've got to ask if I can enter. And I think my boyfriend thinks it's just insane. It's funny. So I get permission to enter, and all of a sudden I just start crying, because there's wind going all around me, like dragon wings all around me. And I look down, and the root of the tree looks like a dragon claw. So I just start bawling. And I'm telling the story fast. I could tell it really slowly and take an hour. But so I get home, and one of my healer clients comes in, and she's like, Gail, there's dragon energy in the egg now. Okay, now I'm in Colorado. I said, yeah, I know, because the Asheville egg has it. So now everybody has it. And then this lady in Michigan writes me. She's like, there's dragon energy in the egg. And I write books for Simon and Schuster and Disney. And I wrote this story called The Little Dragon and the Giant Egg in like one evening. And I want to gift it to you. So we do have a children's book that we've had illustrated now called The Little Dragon and the Giant Egg, because of Asheville brought this energy there. So all the eggs are connected. We've had people say, when the Peru egg landed on the land in Peru, a lady in Belgium was in the egg in Belgium and says, the Peru egg is there. It wasn't even assembled yet. It was still in the crates, and she felt it. So I don't know what's going on. I will tell you that I think it's magical and very mysterious. And the more eggs that come onto the planet, the higher they're raising their vibration. All of them are at about 14 to 1600 hertz now by themselves, turned off, no music, just the energy of them. Because the more eggs, the higher they're all raising the vibration. So very interesting. And I do have kids that come in that can see, quote unquote, see. And I was with a kid one time with his mom, and we had the door open so the kid didn't get scared. And I was talking to the mom, and he's like, excuse me. And we're like, yeah, what's up? And he said, please close the door because the white being's working on my head. Okay. So we closed the door. So these things happen all the time. And another lady came in and she said, listen, I've had Lyme disease for a long time. And I've worked with medical doctors and DO doctors on this. They said, we can't medically find the Lyme disease anymore, but it's still there emotionally. So how can you help? So we traded a lot of patients, clients, because the egg can get them to release it emotionally when they can't find it physically. And then they can now take this patient to the next level. In fact, that DO is going to be coming over tomorrow to visit with me. So a lady came in, she said, I know I have Lyme disease. It's still there, but the doctors told me I don't have it anymore. So she goes into the egg and she comes out and she says, this blue Lyme tick jumped out of my head. It circled around inside the egg. Some Andromedan being came in, chomped it up, and it turned to dust. And I'm so grateful because my intention was I needed to release this Lyme at an energetic level, and I didn't know it was still there energetically in my head. So these stories blow my mind. They're amazing. But this is what happens when two or more are gathered, setting an intention for you to have an experience that maybe you don't even know that you know that you know that you need. And I do
Wow,
want
that's
to say, because
amazing.
now people are going to expect to have this magical experience. Some people go in and say nothing happened. And that's
Disclaimer.
me. Yeah. I'm like, I don't think that anything happened during that session. I fell asleep and I feel good. But I will tell you that usually takes me 3 days. And by the third day, I can go, oh, now I know what happened in that session.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You have to probably have to integrate some of the energy that you're getting over a course of time, because some people just can't take all of that at once. They have to let it just kind of settle into their system and let their emotional body and their etheric body really absorb the energy that they received, right?
Right. And it takes about a week, 5 to 7 days to integrate an egg session. So I tell people, don't be piling one thing on top of the other. You wouldn't eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner at the same time. Let it digest, let it integrate, like you're saying. So I'm glad you said that, because people are doing too much energy work. We're all old enough to remember the seminar junkies.
Yep.
Everybody went to the Tony Robbins, and then they went to Harvacker, and then they went to the, Chicken Soup for the Soul. And, we didn't really remember anything, but we were seminar junkies, and we're running from seminar to seminar to seminar. And people are doing that with energy work now, and they're hurting themselves.
How many sessions would you require, or is this something that we do on a monthly or weekly basis? Like, how does that work?
It depends what level of wellness you wish to achieve. If you have a chronic condition, you're probably going to want to do 10 sessions in 10 weeks if your body can handle it. Some people, they can't, because you have to see what the first session does. How does your body respond to the energy of the egg? You might go every 2 weeks, and then you might go every week, and then you might go every month. My center was called Healing the Healers Center. So I had medical doctors to acupuncturists to shamans. I mean, everyone, my dentist, my horse's chiropractor, everybody came there that were healers. And they had monthly memberships. Now, one doctor was a trauma surgeon in the ER. He came every week and he was on call. So I'd have his phone on my desk. If he got a call, I'd have to go get him out. But he needed it every week. So it's what level of wellness do you wish to achieve? And what are you, sometimes it's just financial. You can only go once a month, and that's okay too. There's an exchange of energy there. Money is energy, so you just exchange the energy with the egg guardian on what you can do.
And Gail, what is the dream that you have for the harmonic egg? Do you see one in every home, or do you see these mainly for healing centers? What would you envision and like to see for multiple eggs across the world?
Well, like I said earlier, I'm not just selling to anybody. You have to kind of apply to be an egg guardian. Not really, but the egg usually calls to you. 99% of my egg guardians say, oh, the egg found me. And so I always ask, how did the egg find you? I talk to someone, how did the egg find you? The egg finds them. The egg finds the piece of land that they want to be on. So I'm not looking to sell to anybody and everybody. I don't want them in hospitals if they're going to be abused. I don't want them in high-end spas if they're going to be run by somebody who doesn't have any training and they're going to damage the reputation and the brand. And then the egg's going to be unhappy. I had to buy back one egg because the egg told me, I'm not happy here. Get me back. And I think I'm crazy because I'm thinking, is this egg really talking to me and telling me to buy it back? So there's things like that have happened over the years that blows my mind. I don't claim to understand, but I just listen and I try to serve the eggs to do the highest and best good for the most people that we can. But I also have, the egg guardians make an investment. So it's my responsibility to do my very best to sell to the highest integral, loving beings that will serve and support the eggs and their clients for the highest and best good of all.
Well, the egg has found me, but I know they're pretty sizable. So I think they're also going to have to find me another home that I can fit them into because I don't have room in my house.
We have a home unit, right? We have a home unit.
Oh, okay.
So
No,
we
do
have a
tell.
home
We'd
unit
love to hear about
it's a
that.
light, yeah. It's just a light capsule. It's 48 inches in diameter. So it still has a lot of the sacred geometry, dimensions and stuff. We use the same music. We have a self-care guide. We have one light instead of two. But people are finding that fits inside their home more than an 11 foot by 11 foot by 7 foot egg. So,
yeah. My cats would not be happy about that. Taking up all their lounging space. But no, I love the idea of having a home version. I think I need to look into that one because that sounds more reasonable.
Well, what happened during COVID is people were afraid to come out. And they said, oh my gosh, Gail, like we want to have our egg sessions, but we're afraid to come out. We got to lock ourselves in the house. And so I created the lift. It's called Let It Flow Therapy, LIFT. And my intention of that was when you're sitting there in COVID, a lot of domestic violence happened. A lot of people were arguing because you're not used to being cooped up in the house all the time with those same beings. And I said, when you're going to say something that you're going to regret, go get a lift. Go get a lift. And so it ended up being called the lift. So go get a lift.
That's great. I love that. I think that's such a smart name for it. I will definitely look into that one. And for anyone else that might be interested in this technology, where should they go to find you? I know you've got a website. Is that the best place to look for information about this?
Yes, harmonicegg.com has all the locations of all the approved centers. It has books, music. It has a link to the lift. It has a link to the new film called It's Time. So yeah, everything that you could ever want to know about me is there. I don't know if that's a good thing or not.
Well, I also know it has your book as well, Unlocking the Ancient Secrets to Healing. And so that's a great place for people to find that also. And this has definitely been an eye-opening and fun conversation. And I really appreciate you sharing about your technology. Congratulations on this and on the book and on the documentary. So, and I know you've got a showing coming up soon, and people can find that documentary, as you mentioned, on your website. I think I may have found it on YouTube, but I know it's out there for people to see, and you're excited for people to really take that information in. So thank you for putting that together for us as well. And just thank you so much, Gail, for your time today. We just appreciate you. We appreciate what you're doing to bring this technology to us. And I think it may not be your dream, but my dream would be to see an egg in every home. So kind of like Oprah says, you get an egg, you get an egg, you get an egg.
Well, and I know that you lovely ladies like action items and action things that you can do. So I'll leave you
Yes,
guys
we do.
with just the action that every night before we all go to bed, or I think that's the best time to do it, in the shower, wherever you do it. At the end of a day, I would like everybody to call their energy back in that people may have taken or you have intentionally shared. And anything that you have intentionally or unintentionally taken energy from someone else, send it back to them. So we're not Swiss cheese walking around, that we want to bring all of our energy back to us, and that we want to send any energy that is not ours back lovingly and gently to who it belongs to.
I love that. I think that is such a great exercise. And I think it's well worth the time for people doing that at the end of their day, as you mentioned, or even at the beginning of the next day, too, whenever they have that moment. But definitely at the end of the day, it's good just to kind of make that separation before they go into their sleep. So thank you for so much for
Correct.
sharing that as well. Do you have any final words, Gail, that you want to leave us with for anyone listening today?
I think I just want people to start being more kind, knowing that we're all one. We're all here on the same journey. No one's getting out alive, and to listen to your bodies, because your body talks to you, and your body will. There's like if people haven't watched your interview with Gladys, the 103-year-old woman, they need to, because she says things so eloquently. There is no disease. It's just a message that your body's giving you, and you got to listen.
Well, thank you so much. You are an amazing person, and we really appreciate your time and your energy and everything that you've done to share this information with us. So we appreciate you. Thank you.
It was fun.